So this is the final film. How much are you going to miss it, firstly?
It's bittersweet, of course. I love everyone in it. It's been a really fun ride to be on these movies together, and you know, very thankful for the opportunity. Honestly, it's like my first three movies. I'm surprised I even got a chance to make the first one. I feel so lucky to even have that opportunity, and the fact that we got to make three, it's been fantastic. But at the same time, I think we're all kind of excited to kind of move on to whatever's next. You know, it's kind of good to have beginning, middle, and end, and this is the end of the Maze Runner series in terms of movies, at least for me.
What was it like kind of returning for this grand finale?
Yeah, it was good. It's always been the same when we get the characters all back together and all the actors come in. We all kind of, just get back to our familiar kind of, rhythms with each other, and it's kind of just feels like we've done it. Even though we've been away from each other for a year or something, it always kind of feels like coming back together, coming back home in a weird way. So in this time, it was just about kind of handling the scale and scope of this movie and doing a proper kind of send off to the characters, to the story, and to the fans themselves.
And it is absolutely huge, like bigger stunts than ever before. How exciting was it getting to do that?
Yeah, it's fun, and they're bigger set pieces, but they're all kind of centered more around character this time. I think it's all centered around rescuing their friend Minho, or the drama between the different characters that we've set up over the previous two movies. So they're charged with a different kind of emotional weight this time, I think. But you're right, the scope and scale is definitely bigger this time because we wanted to end big, go out with a bang.
Of course. Was there a particular stunt that was super fun to film, whether it was the opening sequence or that bit when they jump out the window, or...?
Yeah, the jump out the window thing was kind of fun. There's a lot of visual effects in that thing. There's a particular stunt when we're kind of, basically blowing up the city around them, and there's a stunt where our car goes flying down a street, and that was pretty fun. We had a lot of good, fun times this time with some of the visual kind of stuff. But for me, it's always the small scenes that I always remember. With the characters as a director, I like the little intimate scenes. So there's a lot of fun stuff this whole run this time. It was good.
Ahead of time, I guess you read the books. Was there one bit when you read in this source copy you were like, I cannot wait to put that on screen?
For this one?
Yeah.
No spoilers. Yeah, there's a couple of them, and it has come close towards the end, and there's one kind of in the middle, and I don't want to give it away, but there's some particular kind of emotionally charged scenes with two characters that I really love, Newt and Teresa, that was really fun, and a lot of pressure was involved to get those right,
And do you feel the pressure when James perhaps sees the films? How nervous is it? Yeah.
Very nervous when you show James. Obviously, we send him the script and we kind of talk about things, and he's always been very supportive, though. James has been, fantastic. I've probably been spoiled now, but he's given us the kind of, the okay, basically, to make changes, whatever we need to do to make a good movie. We'll always try to stay true to the spirit of the books, but sometimes the things have to change just so it can feel cinematic. And so he's always given us the license to make those changes, but I've felt very fortunate to have that kind of, that freedom. But it's always very nerve-wracking when he goes and sees it for the first time. Fortunately, he loves it, so we're out of that. So
I was going to say, has he seen the new one?
Mm-hmm. He's seen it a couple times, I think, actually.
Excellent.
And he probably saw it the best way with a big, giant group of fans, So I know he had a good time, yeah.
And with the fans, obviously the fandom of this series has been mad. Did you ever imagine when you signed on for the first film that it becomes such a huge franchise?
No, honestly, and the truth is, when we started these movies, it was a small book series. It wasn't a big, giant, hugely popular thing. It had this really devoted fan base, and I was aware of them for sure. And I think that it only grew as the movies came on. As movies came out, I know the books kind of even more books got sold, and more fans came on board. So we couldn't be more happy with just our kind of very, very passionate fan base that have kind of supported these movies for the last 4 years.
Does that ever add pressure, the fact that they're so avid and invested in these stories?
Indeed, it does. I hear from them every day, and I'm very aware of what they think and what they want to see. Sometimes things don't go exactly the way they would hope, but I hope that we sort of honor them in this movie and give them a proper kind of farewell to the stories that they love,
I think something that's so brilliant about fandoms like this is they invest so much time in kind of speculating what's going to happen, and you kind of go down the depths of Reddit threads and you find these ideas. Did you ever find yourself kind of going down these black holes of Reddit and being like, oh, actually, That's a good idea.
I've been down all of those, all of them for sure. But there's always the thing that I have to lean against, which is James's books. Mm-hmm. For the most part, we try not to contradict his books, even if we have to change things. That's usually our compass to make sure that we're not going too far.
And with a lot of these kind of big franchises, they split the last film into two. Mm-hmm. Was this a conscious decision that you didn't want to split the last kind of book into two
Yeah,
films?
For me it was. I think there's something about the magic number 3. There's beginning, middle, and end, and I just felt like it wouldn't be right to kind of arbitrarily split this thing, pad it out, and it just kind of dies or something. There's something very nice about kind of that final conclusion after the second kind of piece that we kind of set up. So yeah, it was always for me the right way to go.
And of course, the series does have the prequel books. Mm-hmm. Would you ever be interested in returning to this world with the prequels?
Sadly, not for me. I'm done. My journey through the Maze Runner world is concludes with this one. And but I certainly I know the fans would love to see those movies, and who knows, maybe one day it'll happen, and I'll be there and in line with them.
So it's kind of, I guess, over the past decade been like a huge golden age for this dystopian young adult fiction. What's it like being involved in this huge trend that people love?
It's interesting. I guess I don't see it as too much of a dystopian thing. I see it post-apocalyptic, I guess, and it's interesting. It's definitely I guess a trend, you'd say now, but there's something about the romanticism of a world that has to begin again. I think that people find fascinating for some reason. And it's been throughout sci-fi stories, even in the 70s and stuff. So it's nothing new. But in terms of the YA thing, I tried to avoid all the YA trappings in these movies as much as possible. I tried to just make a good, fun action-adventure movie that happens to have young people in them. So I didn't get too caught up in it when I was making the movies in terms of those trends and those kind of, those things. But, I guess I acknowledge that they exist sort of in that universe,
And do you think this universe and these books, that kind of the trend of having them on the screen is going to come to an end? So, I mean, Divergent's finished, Hunger Games is finished, This is now the finale of The Maze Runner, or do you reckon it's still got legs to go?
Well, what I hope is that the YA label comes to an end, because I don't see it's too limiting, that label. And I think there's nothing wrong with just a fun movie that has young people in them. I think maybe the YA thing has to do with, subject matter that teens sort of, somehow it's catered just to teens. But we've made these movies, hopefully, for a large audience, young and old. We're not dealing with anything too kind of, esoteric in terms of what they're going through. So hopefully that's what kind of goes away. And then we continue to have good stories. I mean, I grew up on Goonies. I grew up on, Harry Potter. Is Harry Potter YA? You know what I mean? It's interesting. So I'd love to see that kind of label go away, and we get back to just a good movie, whether it involves young people or not,
So much of this film looks so beautiful. How did you pick where to film?
Cape Town is where we shot this movie, and we've kind of shot each movie in a different location, which has been fun. Cape Town originally started because particular location needs that we had. We needed desert, we needed scorch, we needed a city this time. And a second was that when we had to kind of, get the schedules oriented with all the different characters and all the actors and stuff, that we found that most places in the world it was wintertime and we couldn't shoot there. So Cape Town, being on the southern hemisphere, offered us that opportunity, and it has great people, it has some fantastic locations, and it was a real thrill to shoot there, and I think it adds a lot to the kind of visual kind of language of the movie this time.
How did it differ filming there to filming the other couple of films in different locations?
It doesn't really, except people drive on the different side of the road. It's the same kind of people. It's just good, passionate people that work hard and that want to do well, and we all just kind of band together and try to make the best movie we can.
So something that kind of overshadowed a lot of press before the film was Dylan's accident. Was it nervous for you getting back on set after that happened?
Yeah, definitely. It was a super emotional kind of event that kind of affected us all, I think. And I think when we got back into it again, I certainly approached things very, very differently. I'll take that kind of experience with me through the rest of my life in terms of how I approach things. But the good thing is that Dylan, he got through it, and he got back on the horse and finished this thing, and I think that's a testament sort of to his dedication to the fans and the movies themselves, So I think it's a silver lining to that kind of dark cloud that was hanging over us for a while,
And finally, what's next for you?
I I do not know. I've never been in this situation before where each movie I've always been kind of prepping the next movie. And this time I find myself in kind of a place where I can go have a vacation and I can kind of, think about what comes next. And I don't know yet. It'll be something different though, but, we'll see.